Mm, mm.
Chapter 22. Along the pool edge, a telltale smear of crushed fuzzy bugs. My keen detective's eye quickly zeroed in on the cause of Miguel's fall. Indeed, the small furry bugs seemed to be growing more numerous by the hour. In the dim garden, now lit only by the pale violet radiance of distant street lamps, the bugs were more felt than seen, as if the entire landscape were aquiver with a ghostly life. Damn, I feel like I'm soaking in Bubsy stew, complained Sunny.
Yeah, I think the spa filter's clogged, said Petey. You can hear the motor laboring.
It is pleasant though, said Angelina, bouncing slowly up and down in the streaming water.
You didn't have hot tubs at the convent?
Asked Norris. No, she replied.
Your asceticism is to be commended. The mortification of the flesh is much to be desired.
I'm glad you think something is, she sighed. Bernabud, called Sunny. Didn't I tell you about the stunning frock Mrs. M was wearing today? Yes, you did. Several times, in fact. Good. We must go window shopping tomorrow along Union Square. The shops are bulging with new spring fashions. So you've said, Sunny, she replied. I suppose I should cultivate an interest in that field, however frivolous it may seem.
This hot bath water is very soothing to my stump,
said Honky.
Kenny, any chance you could scrounge me up a smoke?
Sure, Honky, he replied. I feel the need for one myself. The gull climbed out, shook himself off, and flew off toward the street. He didn't get very far. Hey, everybody, he called from atop the wall. There's a big crowd of people on the other side. Instant alarm. Are they cops? I demanded. No, Robin, I don't think so. It's weird. Come see for yourself. Petey, Zeb, and I followed Kenny to the wall. We alighted on the moss-covered stones and peered cautiously over the edge. Gathered near the wall were dozens of people, each holding a tapered white cylinder surmounted by a flickering flame. Some stood with their eyes closed, mumbling softly to themselves. A few had assumed painful postures on their knees. I don't like the look of this, said Zeb. Maybe the cops are sending people of prey after us now, I suggested. We gave a start as something fluttered behind us. Sunny poked her way through and looked down. Oh, it's nothing to be concerned about, she said. It must be Chinese New Year's. Francesca always watched the parade and came home with half her clothes singed off from the firecrackers. At least that's what she told her parents.
But these people don't look Chinese, Petey pointed out.
Well, neither was Francesca, replied Sunny. And I don't hear any firecrackers, said Kenny.
Maybe we should beat it, said Zeb.
Don't be silly, Zeb, honey, said Sunny. We've got a great setup here. You watch, these people will be gone soon. Anyway, I can't desert Mrs. M now. I think she has a new suitor. Either that or she's keeping company with the hunk who reads the gas meter. The people have not gone away. They are multiplying like fuzzy bugs. By the time we return from our nightly barrel inspection, still empty, the crowd had spilled out into the street, snarling traffic. Shortly thereafter, the first ladders hit the wall. We retreated quickly to the attic as invading hordes poured over the stonework and began filling containers of every size and type with dank bathwater from the pool.
Goodness,
exclaimed Honky. observing the frenzied scene from the windowsill.
There must be some sort of critical bathwater shortage.
Several young men stripped off their clothes and splashed noisily into our once exclusive spa. Other men began clipping branches from the shrubbery and gathering them into neat bundles. They must be building nests, speculated Sonny. Verna Bud, you should study their technique. It's getting worse out here, I called back from the window ledge. Is the trailer packed? Just about, Robin, replied Darla, bustling about in the dark. Julie's nest is transferred, but Honky Jr. is so young to have to move. We may not have any choice, I replied. I told you we should have cleared out before, complained Zeb. And damn it, those falcons should never have rescued that gardener.
He's right, grunted the brutish Yancey. It's all their fault.
Uh-oh, here comes Mrs. M, called Sonny. We watched from our attic sanctuary as the lady of the house, clad in a shimmering golden robe with odd tubular lumps woven into her head feathers, stormed down the path. In one wing, she held a long, shiny object that projected a brilliant white beam. Accompanying her were her three eldest sons, each carrying a stout wooden stick, which Zeb says are employed in a low sport appropriately termed baseball. Get out! Get out! She shouted, her restless torch flitting over the destructive throngs. You are all trespassing on private property. Get out! Perplexed by the unheeding garden crashers, Mrs. M swung her light against the skull of the nearest shrubbery clipper, causing the torch and the trespasser to blink out. Enraged by this defiance of authority, her sons attacked the crowds with their sticks. People screamed, bodies darted in all directions. The half-naked bathers abandoned the spa. Panicked bottle fillers clambered back over the wall. Baseball sticks swung against air, against trees, against people. Then the scene was illuminated by a vastly brighter beam, and from overhead we heard the menacing wing beat of its source, the police helicopter. Oh no, it's the cops, twitched Jasper. From all directions came the wails of approaching sirens. Let's go, I shouted. Now, we haven't a moment to lose. Robin, cried Darla, Julie's baby, he's missing. Separated in the tumult from his presumed mother, Honky Jr. had sought refuge under Sonny's wardrobe pile. After a desperate 15-minute search, the lost infant was discovered, but by then the grounds were swarming with blue uniformed officers. The helicopter had retired, but now a masked radiance brighter than the sun was shining down on the garden from what Zeb identified as a row of television news trucks positioned on the other side of the wall. Telescoped up from the roof of each truck were tall metal poles, tipped by glaring lights and saucer-like dishes aimed toward the heavens. We're trapped, said Zeb. If we try to escape now, the cops will shoot us for sure. It's only a matter of time before they come up here, added Jasper, his twitch taking on a convulsive new urgency.
It'd take a miracle for us to get out of here alive, whined Yancey.
Then why not give them a miracle? Calmly suggested Sister Angelina. After all, that's what these people have come to see. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, sister? I asked. I hope so, Brother Robin, she replied. Okay, everyone, I said. Now, remember to stay in formation. It's important that we keep as close together as possible and try not to get tangled up in each other's equipment. Are you sure this will work? Demanded Blanche. It's our only chance, I replied. Okay, we lift off at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Fluttering en masse, we rose into the air, lurched from side to side, and sailed uncertainly out through the broken attic window. Trailing scarves and handkerchiefs, Kenny and I took the lead. Behind us, bedecked in silken lingerie, came Norris and Angelina, towing the trailer, draped in a lacy white slip. More scarves and ribbons streamed from the balance of our troop, tightly massed around the disguised mobile home containing Julie and the youngsters. Almost immediately, the television lights converged upon us as murmurs of astonishment went through the great crowd. "Oh my God!" I heard Mrs. M exclaim. Rumbles of wonder rippled through the throngs as we rose higher and higher into the starless black sky. "Don't shoot, men!" we heard a man shout. "It's a miracle!" someone cried. "The angel! The angel!" Voices sang out, "The angel! The angel!" "Stay together," I commanded. "Bernabud," called Sonny. "It's our first fashion show, and we're a hit." "Look out, Robin!" shouted Kinney. "Here comes the police helicopter." Flashing red lights and whirling blades bore down on us out of the night with frightening speed. "Oh, Robin," called Darla, "what should we do?" "If they start firing, everyone disperse," I replied, my right eye fixed on the fast-approaching mechanical monster, my left eye trained on the 2 falcons and their burden. "Try to make a run for it. Kenny and I will attack the pilot." Then an immense wave of sound rose from the crowd. "No! No!" they cried. The swelling roar rolled up and buffeted us like a sudden wind. "No! No!" "It's turning!" shouted Kenny. It was true. The helicopter veered away. A thunderous cheer rose from the crowd. We were safe. We flew west to the sounds of distant foghorns. Across the city, the twin flood-lit towers of the Great Bridge rose above the fog like orange beacons in the night. Chapter 23. "Experts are examining the TV news videos," said Honky, reading the morning paper. "They think the alleged angel of Pacific Heights may be killer pigeons in disguise."
Save us from the professional skeptics,
said Norris. "Did we commit a great wrong by misleading these people?" asked Angelina. "Not at all," I replied. "People came to witness a miracle, and they did. They saw a band of defenseless refugees escape from a large force of heavily armed police." "I hope we're safe here," said Darla, gazing up warily. "Those sad ladies make me feel so self-conscious." Today's shelter was identified by Petey as a large concrete box atop a peristyle of grand Corinthian columns. The temple-like structure beneath us rose like a vision of ancient Greece beside a serene, fubsy, bug-infested lagoon. At the center of the peristyle, etched in ethereal pinks against the olive hills of the Presidio, was a great domed rotunda, its coffered and frescoed interior mirrored in the still waters of the lagoon. At each exterior corner of our lofty box stood a scantily clad stone woman, resting her weathered arms on the top edge and peering down in a doleful perplexity at the inner void, now occupied by our bedraggled troop and Phoebe's well-traveled trailer. Above the ornate architrave of the curving colonnade, dozens more stone women draped themselves in identical postures of woe on similar concrete boxes. "What is this place?" asked Blanche. "It gives me the creeps." "Don't you remember?" said Julie. It was depicted on that pennant in the carriage house. It must be from the Panama Pacific International Exposition. You sound like tourists, said Sonny. It's the Palace of Fine Arts. Everyone knows that. What is its function? Asked Julie. It's art, Sonny replied. Its function is to be beautiful. But it's so big, exclaimed Blanche. It must have cost a fortune. Yes, people used to devote money on art, explained Miss Jerriger. They don't anymore. It's not a cost-effective use of public resources. Well, it's a pretty spot for a wedding, said Phoebe, opening her trailer window. I noticed she was dressed in white lace. Honky, the newspaper can wait, said Petey, suddenly rousing himself. We must engage in serious detective work. That missing mannequin maker must be found. I agreed. Yes, vital scouting must be performed without delay. Let's go, men. For once, I didn't have to ask them twice. We began our intelligence-gathering expedition by sharing a smoke in the park across the street from Mrs. M's besieged mansion. If anything, the festive crowd was even larger than when we had departed. TV trucks now circled the estate, and mounds of flowers, some in elaborately wrought arrangements, threatened to engulf the garden wall. Mrs. M was nowhere to be seen, but several of her younger offspring were observed heaving what Petey identified as water balloons from a second-floor window at TV News People. I hope we didn't excessively inconvenience Mrs. M, said Honky, bogarting the smoke. Of course we didn't, I assured him. All these people constitute a tremendous fundraising opportunity for her. She's probably overseeing the hors d'oeuvres preparation as we speak. That reminds me, Honky, you are seriously bogarting our cigarette. Kenny's bringing some more, he replied, continuing to puff away. Honky's accident had removed more than his foot. It had also excised our pal's last weak impulse to share. Robin, do you see Mr. Trinello? Asked Honky. Of course not. I don't know what the man looks like. I've only seen him with pantyhose over his head. Then how are we supposed to find him? He asked. Easy, I replied. We merely have to stake out an area with a large concentration of artificial people. That won't be easy, said Petey. Los Angeles is over 450 miles away. Petey, I was referring to Union Square. Oh, good, he said. Maybe the pigeon chow lady is out of jail. She was, while Kenny stood watch in a nearby palm tree for cops with nets. We flew down to her well-stocked bosom eatery. Ah, my precious friends, she exclaimed, sprinkling on an extra generous wingful. You've chosen an excellent time to visit. The square is practically deserted. Those pleasant bubsy bugs have driven away most of the tourists. My, you have been busy. I was so proud of the way you outsmart the police on the outrageous birds of prey ploy. I think training birds to attack their fellow creatures is simply criminal. Leave it to the police to hatch such a wicked scheme. Be assured, my dears, you are not alone. You have friends, many friends, some of them in very high places. The outrage is mounting. Yes, you have been treated abominably. You can say that again, said Petey, gulping sunflower seeds with his usual dispatch. Our benefactress looked around warily and lowered her voice. I have heard through my sources that the murder accusation against you was a trumped-up charge. I don't mind telling you, I was relieved. Candidly, I must confess I was briefly shaken, but one can lose one's perspective while imprisoned. Yes, I was in jail. I don't suppose you knew about that. Then I heard from Ted about his missing inventory, and we put two and two together. Ted is your friend, too. He and his associates are doing wonderful work. They're planning another glorious liberation tonight, right here in the city, at UC Medical Center. I wish I could go with them, but I am too well known to the police. Ted says taking me along would be like waving a red flag at a bull, and we all know who the bull is. Why, you have good appetites. I'm glad to see you're getting enough to eat. She sprinkled on another big wingful. Dine on, my angels. Angels! Ha ha ha! I must remember to tell that to Ted if he comes by again. He's over at Macy's today, updating some facial expressions. Aloof disdain is no longer in, he informs me. Ted does wonderful work, though, of course. There's a great deal of sexism and fat oppression in his art. But like most of us, he is a slave to commercial reality. Fortunately, a small family trust fund liberated me from the iron grip of trade. Father invented a terribly effective gopher trap, and I'm spending his fortune as best I can to make amends. I'm trying to persuade Ted to introduce gophers into Union Square. Wouldn't that be wonderful? All those lovely little mounds of soil here and there as evidence of their indomitable underground enterprise.
What is that woman talking about?
Asked Honky.
Something about subway construction, I think, said Petey. And who is this Ted person?
It's Mr. Trinello, of course, I replied. It must be. This has been an extremely informative conversation.
And an extremely filling alternative to holy wedlock, belched Petey.
Within 20 minutes, Kinney had spotted the dented white van parked in an alley not far from Darla's favorite dumpster. I hoped she would not be visiting it soon in the company of a taut, mugging gigolo. As the rear van doors were open, the three of us flew into the back and quickly concealed ourselves inside mannequin legs. Only Kinney, under orders to follow the van by air, remained outside. He flew up to a window ledge, and we all settled in to wait for Ted Trinello's return.
I wish I had a cigarette,
said Petey from a neighboring leg.
A tote of sherry would be nice, too,
I heard Honky reply. With a startling crash, the rear door suddenly swung closed. A moment later, the front door opened, and the seat sagged and creaked as a burly figure entered. Through the round knee joint of my mannequin hiding place, I could see a section of flabby plaid-shirted torso protruding above a broad khaki-covered haunch. The man's well-muscled, featherless wingtip reached up and turned a shiny metal implement, activating a familiar mechanical rumbling. It was the same rhythmic pulsations we had heard the night of our abduction. Ted Trinello, for I knew our driver was the roguish ARF leader himself, then pulled down a small lever and pressed his dusty right boot against a floor-mounted mechanism. Immediately, the van began to move. Whistling a cheerful tune, he turned a large spoked wheel back and forth, apparently controlling the van's direction of movement.
Flying is okay, whispered Honky, but I'd love to have my own car.
Too much bother, I replied. Mr. Spade always takes taxis. Or you can do like Sonny and the cage free rides on the roofs of streetcars.
I know, he whispered, but it's not the same.
After innumerable starts, stops, turns and nausea-inducing swerves, the van at last came to rest. The man returned the lever to its uppermost position and switched back the metal implement, silencing the rumbling. He quickly exited without rolling up his window or locking the door.
Robin, called Honky, where do you suppose we are?
From the sounds of the seagulls in the distance, I'd say we must be near the Bathwater Bay. Kinney flew in through the window and hopped down onto the recently vacated seat.
You're in a waterfront district well south of the Bay Bridge, he reported. The suspect just entered a derelict metal building, which may function as a mannequin repair facility.
What makes you say that, Kinney? I asked.
I looked in through a window, Robin. He's got body parts strewn from one end to another.
Any blood? I asked.
Not that I can see.
Okay, we can tentatively rule out mass murder. They're probably mannequins. Good work, Kinney.
What now, Robin?
He asked. You keep watch outside, Kinney. We'll remain here on stakeout duty. What is your impression of the suspect?
Well, offhand, I'd say the guy has an extremely productive halibut source.
Hours and hours and hours have gone by, not even a magazine to read. Of course, everyone is desperate for a cigarette, but we don't dare sneak one into the van. No stray butts under the seats either, although we did find something that looks suspiciously like women's black fishnet pantyhose. Thank goodness we had had a proper lunch. At least hunger is not exacerbating our numerous bodily cravings. I wonder what Sam Spade does on boring stakeouts. He probably has the foresight to bring along a bottle. I imagine he settles back, lights a cigarette, thinks of absent Bridget, and gets quietly smashed, all on the client's tab. To pass the time, we have resorted to that universal diversion, gossip.
I may be holed up in a cramped mannequin leg, remarked Petey, but at least I'm missing my wedding. I don't think Phoebe minds that much,
said Honky.
Doesn't mind, blustered Petey. Of course she minds. I'm breaking her poor heart, damn it. No, you're not, he replied. She doesn't want to marry you. She doesn't, Petey exclaimed. Then why did she make that wedding announcement? And dress up in all that silly lace?
Honky lowered his voice.
I heard Julie tell Darla that Phoebe's just trying to make someone jealous. Who? Petey demanded. It's Yancey. The word is Phoebe's been stuck on him ever since he showed up with his two buddies.
That's perfect, I said. Yancey would make an ideal mate for Phoebe.
I couldn't agree more, said Petey. And it wouldn't surprise me if Blanche has her sights trained on old Jasper. That could explain the fellow's chronic jumpiness. Nah, you're wrong there, Petey, said Hunky. I got the scoop on that, too. I heard her tell Julie that she couldn't stand you personally, but has always deeply loved you. I feel the same way about her, said Petey, except for the love part.
Hours after nightfall, we're finally on the move. The nefarious Ted Trinello, now dressed completely in black, has picked up a passenger whose scent and voice I recognized from the lab. It's the woman whose wing I nearly amputated, the homicidal kidnapper who once demanded that Ted shoot me. Are we picking up the others? She asked.
Nah, they're meeting us there in Rupert's car. He's got the pass key.
I don't know about this, Ted. There's still a lot of heat coming down from the pigeon job.
I know, Jesse, but this can't wait. According to Rupert's informant, tomorrow they start sticking electrodes into the brain of those cats.
We've got to save them, Ted, she said.
Goodness,
Whispered Honky.
they're going to liberate cats.
I knew we were dealing with master criminals, I replied, but I never imagined they would stoop to such depravity. Many miles later, I felt the van turn left, roll over 2 bumps, then back slowly down a slope. It came to a stop. Ted switched off the rumbling, and he and his black-garbed Matahari quickly exited. We heard other muted voices behind the van. Then a door somewhere opened and closed. Right then, Kenny flew in through the window.
You're at some kind of loading dock, he reported. They've put pantyhose over their heads and gone into the building. Some of them have guns.
Good work, Kenny, I said. How far are we from the Palace of Fine Arts?
Not far, Robin. It's just across the park and down the hill.
Good. I want you to go there, Kenny, as fast as possible. Bring back the others. We'll need Wally Jr. and baby Ina, too. But tell Darla to stay behind with Julie and the baby.
Will do,
said the seagull, flying off.
Robin, what do we do now?
Asked Honky. Just lay low until I give the word.
I hope those damn cats are in cages,
muttered Petey. They were. Several minutes later, black-garbed figures began loading metal cages of cats into the back of the van. Cage after cage of yowling, shrieking, hissing cats. More cats of all sizes and colors than I ever imagined existed. And still the cages kept coming until the van was loaded nearly to the ceiling.
Holy shit,
muttered Petey.
It's a a disaster.
From behind the mountain of cats, a man's voice grunted.
That's it, Ted. She's full up. Damn. Okay, we'll take the rest in Rupert's car. But there's not enough room,
the man objected.
I can see that,
snapped Ted.
We'll carry them without the cages.
Are you sure that's a good idea, Ted? Asked a voice that sounded like Jessie's. These sweet kitties are pretty shook up.
We'll manage,
Ted replied, as the rear van doors slammed closed.
Help me carry this last load over.
A moment later, Kenny and Zeb fluttered in through the window. Good work, Kenny, I said, emerging from the lake. I want everybody in here immediately.
But this is insanity,
protested Zeb.
This vehicle's full of cats.
What a treasure trove,
exclaimed Norris, flying in through the other open window.
You hit the jackpot, Robin. We eat for months. It's just like Christmas morning.
The cats, I noticed, had suddenly grown very quiet. Chapter 24. Where are the parakeets? I asked, darting up to the very top of the driver's seat. Sonny and Verna had a small emergency, replied Sister Angelina, quickly taking her assigned position beside Norris on the floor.
Your Mr. Jagger laid an egg,
cackled Yancey from his perch next to his fellow tot-muggers, and Petey on the left spoke of the steering wheel. Fatherhood came as a great shock to Sonny, added Blanche, lining up on the right spoke next to Phoebe and her children. That will teach the reckless bird to guzzle champagne while masquerading as a female.
Quick, Robin,
called Honky from his observation post on the paper-cluttered windshield ledge.
They're coming.
Okay, Kenny, I commanded. Switch it. The seagull turned the shiny metal implement. A loud grinding noise was heard, and the mechanical rumbling commenced. Across the parking lot, Ted shouted something to his gang. They dropped the cages and ran toward us. Okay, Kenny, I called. The lever. The seagull hopped up on the lever, pushing it down with his weight. The van lurched forward. I nearly toppled backwards off the seat.
Okay, Norris, I shouted. Jump on it.
The falcon applied his considerable weight to the pedal-like implement on the floor. Immediately, the rumbling intensified, and the van shot forward at frightening speed, heading straight toward the gesticulating ARF raiders. I hoped they would get out of the way in time. They did, just barely. We bounced over several unseen impediments, possibly a signpost and a concrete curb, and hurtled onward.
Okay, right group, I shouted. Right group.
As instructed, the right side occupants gripped the spoke and fluttered their wings, thus turning the wheel and the van to the left. As I had hoped, we bounced back down over the curb and into what felt like the road.
Okay, left group, just a little. Steady. Now right group. Damn, it's pitch black. I can barely see where I'm going.
Allow me,
said Kenny, pulling out a knob near the metal activation implement. Suddenly, the road ahead of us was ablaze with light, enabling me to see the large building looming directly in our path.
Angelina! Angelina!
I shouted. The Falcon nun dutifully applied her lever as Norris let up on his.
Left group! Left group!
The van slowed, swerved to the right, and narrowly missed the building. Up ahead, cars streamed back and forth on a broad, busy street.
Uh-oh,
shouted Honky, peering into the rear view mirror.
They're following us in Rupert's car.
Good, I said, praying for an interruption in the heavy cross traffic ahead.
Norris, step on it.
Look out,
shouted Kenny. Like a crazed woodpecker, the panicked seagull dashed his head against the center of the steering wheel, producing loud blasts of noise. The van darted boldly through a fortuitous gap in the traffic as cars swerved and lurched around us. Some, I noticed, crashing loudly into their neighbors. Right behind us came our speeding pursuers.
Angelina, right group, right group. Okay, steady it. Norris.
We accelerated down the busy street, identified by ever-watchful Honky as Lincoln Way. Kenny continued to bash his head against the horn as I endeavored to steer us straight down the yellow guidance line conveniently placed in the middle of the highway. Most drivers, perhaps recognizing my status as a neophyte, managed to dodge out of the way, although I was forced to direct glancing, metal-crunching blows against several obdurate road hoggers.
Honky, I called. Are they still following us?
Yeah, Robin, but it looks like Ted's having trouble driving. The whole car's crawling with scared cats. Whoops, one just jumped on his head.
Police car, get ahead,
screamed Kenny. Angelina, left group, left group. Norris.
We skidded through a high-speed right turn and pressed on, followed by the cat abductors and wailing police car. Somehow we had passed instantly from city to countryside.
Right group, steady. Left group, good, steady. Kenny, what is this place?
Golden Gate Park, Robin.
At least the traffic's lighter. Okay, right group, steady.
Police car blocking road ahead,
shouted Honky. Damn, Angelina, left group, Norris.
Another hairpin right turn put us on a narrow road circling a bathwater lake shimmering silver in the moonlight. Parked along the road were a series of darkened cars, their windows mysteriously steamed up. We inadvertently sideswiped several, as did Ted and the legion of pursuing police cars. Having completed a hasty tour of the Lake District, I directed our battered, smoking van down another road which fed into a broader, less demandingly sinuous avenue.
Right group, steady. Norris, steady. Kenny, where are we now?
JFK Drive, I think. It leads out of the park.
Good. Steady. Norris?
Major law enforcement roadblock ahead,
Cried Honky. No problemo, I said, feeling new confidence in my rapidly maturing driving skills. Angelina, left group, Norris.
Uh-oh.
Gasped Kenny. Instant panic. What's wrong? I demanded.
Robin, this is a cul-de-sac.
Hey, speak my language.
It's a dead-end road.
Damn,
Stop ahead.
shouted my one-legged co-pilot. Angelina, oh, what the hell? Norris! The road ended. We hit the curb and were suddenly airborne. As if we could fly. Hey, we can fly. The van soared upward. The wheel grippers deserted their posts. I braced for impact. 10,000 cats broke into deafening lamentations. Through the windshield, I saw an elegant white structure topped by a glittering dome. It was flying toward us at great speed. It overtook us. We crashed through its fragile glass skin, spun around, and lurched to a stop in a dim, humid jungle, dense with strange, unearthly plant life. Abandoned ship, I shouted, picking myself up from where I knew not. Let's get out of here.
I can't believe we escaped without a single cat,
said Norris. Well, brother Norris, they were all in cages, said Sister Angelina. We should be thankful that no one was seriously injured. How is your wing?
Bunged up, sister, the falcon replied. It feels pretty stiff this morning, but that is God's will.
Amen, brother, she replied. Shall I rub it?
Please do.
Our second morning in the austerely palatial concrete box found Petey and me sharing our first smoke of the day as Honky puffed his own personal stalum and avidly scanned the newspaper. What's the headline? Asked Mrs. Jerriger from her modest, newly constructed nest atop the trailer sundeck.
Suspects nabbed as killer pigeons betray ARF raiders,
read Honky.
There's also a sidebar. Runaway van damages conservatory of flowers.
It wasn't a runaway.
Wally Jr. pointed out.
Uncle Robin and the rest of us were driving. We had it perfectly under control. It was tons of fun,
added baby Ina.
Can we steal another car today, Uncle Robin?
I don't think so, I replied, glancing warily at the strangely quiet Darla.
It says here the DA will be throwing the book at Ted and his gang,
added Honky.
They're expected to be charged with more than a dozen major felonies.
Good, I said. That should put them away for a nice long time. I expect it will, said Darla.
You don't sound very happy about it,
said Petey. I don't know, she sighed. As you yourself pointed out, Robin, they're all good friends of the pigeon chow lady, who, it seems to me, has always had our best interests at heart. They were plotting to release cats, I pointed out. Hundreds of them. I know, Robin, she replied, and that doesn't seem right. I was opposed to the whole mad scheme, said Zeb, patting her on the back. Sonny circled down from one of the doleful stone ladies. How's Mrs. M? Asked Julie, feeding a mashed fubsy bug to her chirping infant. Didn't see the dame, replied the parakeet, walking about on the trailer roof in his approximation of a swagger. But that herd of posy-toting galoots is still camped out around her house. How's that egg, Berna? About the same, his mate replied. Sonny, I'm sorry I misled you about your sex, I said. The parakeet hoisted himself up to his full 11-centimeter height. I'll be settling your hash later, he said. or should I say, scrambling your brains. It's not Robin's fault, protested Miss Jerriger. Sonny, you're the victim of a serious professional malpractice. I don't know how to make it up to you. Just keep looking gorgeous, babe, he winked. I'll think of something. The oft-delayed wedding has been rescheduled by Phoebe for sunset tonight. To Petey's distress, Yancey received the news with either artfully simulated or sincerely genuine indifference. To circumvent Darla's ban and divert suspicion, we sent Sister Angelina into a Marina District liquor store for an emergency bottle to fortify the groom. The brazen tot-muggers crashed our afternoon bachelor's party, held in what Petey identified as an abandoned gun emplacement dug into the overgrown cliffs high above the Golden Gate. Great tactical position, commented Sonny, sighting down the old concrete gun mounts. Be just like shooting ducks in a barrel. Hell, if I had a rifle with a high-powered scope, I'd pick me up a couple of those damn windsurfers right now.
What would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? Inquired Kenny.
Sonny expectorated. He was wearing Mrs. M's old red leather watch band as a bandolier across his chest. For the sport of it, I reckon. Why else? Say, want to wrestle?
Not with you,
sneered the Gaul.
These fried pork rinds are excellent, said Norris. Sister Angelina, we must track down and eat a pig.
Good idea, Brother Norris. We could build an altar and offer it up in an inspiring, albeit bloody ritual.
An animal sacrifice, said Norris. What a splendid idea.
So, Petey, said Zeb, bogarting the sherry, you're finally tying the old knot. I suppose so, he sighed. Of course, continued Zeb, there's a way out if you'd rather not. I know, Petey said listlessly. Throw myself off this cliff. I should have done it back before I learned to fly. No, I mean you could return to the lab, said Zeb. We wish, I said. No one knows how to get back to the lab. That's not exactly true, said Zeb. What do you mean? I demanded.
Yeah, Zeb, said Yancey. Spill it.
Darla knows where the lab is, Zeb replied. She told me so yesterday.
I'm saved, cried Petey. Zeb, pass me that bottle, quick.
Zebulon, you betrayed a private confidence, said Darla, angrily stuffing an unmashed Fubsy bug down Honky Jr.'s tiny throat. He didn't seem to mind. Sorry, Darla, dearest, Zeb replied. It slipped out.
Can you take us back to the lab? Demanded Yancey.
Oh, I don't know, I suppose, she replied. But it's a long way, and over water, too. The distance might be too much for you smokers.
But, Darla, you said there was a bridge, Zeb pointed out. They could rest on the bridge if they get tired.
The Golden Gate Bridge? I asked. No, the Bay Bridge, she replied. Oh, Robin, you don't want to go back, do you? We have to go back, Darla. We owe it to Dr. Milbreen. But anyone who doesn't wish to go is welcome to stay behind. I'm staying, declared Blanche. I suppose, Petey, you'll be abandoning us?
With great reluctance, my dear.
Bull bleep, she retorted. Her white lace in disarray, Phoebe dashed out of the trailer and threw her wings around Yancey.
Oh, my darling, she sobbed. Don't leave me.
Will somebody please get this hysterical pigeon off my neck? He said, recoiling.
I also must stay, announced Julie. I have my son to take care of. I don't want him to grow up in a cage. Are you going, Honky dear?
Yes, I must, he replied. But maybe we'll all come back after Dr. Milbring concludes his experiments.
I'm going with you too,
Vowed the seagull. No, Kitty, I replied. You have to stay here and help take care of our friends. Zeb, are you coming?
Certainly not, and neither is Jasper.
The skinny top mugger twitched in agreement. Robin, I must counsel against this course of action, said Miss Jerriger from her nest. A careful man may cage his dreams, added Sunny, but only a fool dreams of cages. I'm sorry, I replied. My mind is made up. We leave tonight. And that is our chapter for tonight.